Welcome to Digitizing Techniques for using the Hoop It All hoops. This is the first lesson using digitizing software for creating oversized designs to be stitched using a Hoop It All hoop. In this lesson, we will see how creating basting stitches of the stitching field outline and inserting registration marks will assist in the alignment of designs when stitching. Every digitizing software program is different, so please check the documentation of your digitizing software. Also, see other lessons in this module of digitizing techniques, as not all projects use the same techniques. This lesson will step you through the process of splitting an oversized design using generic digitizing software techniques. The process begins with establishing the measurements of your completed project. Then you digitize the design using software tools to split the design and create alignment guidelines. Finally, stitch the design with the aid of the alignment guidelines. These instructions build on the basic techniques videos, so you may find it especially helpful to look at the first, second, and fourth videos of the basic techniques videos module. This is the creative point in the design process where you play with the idea you have. Select a theme, select a color scheme, sketch, and measure. Then open your digitizing software and create your design. Use software tools to duplicate design objects, add lettering, experiment with angles and design placement. Keep in mind that the Hoop It All hoop is almost double the length of your embroidery machine's longest standard hoop. These screen captures highlight the use of hoop basting stitches and registration marks to help split and align a design for use in the Hoop It All hoops. After creating the design, show the embroidery hoop for your embroidery machine. Digitize an outline of the hoop stitching field to create a hoop basting stitch. Then make any adjustments to assure a section of the overall design fits inside the hoop. Duplicate the outline, making additional hoop basting objects. Align the hoop bastings in a way that covers the entire design and allows for a small overlap area of all hoops, adjusting the design as necessary. Within that overlap area, create a small object like a triangle or square, and then duplicate it for each hoop required to complete the design. In the example, this design requires 3 hoops and thus 3 registration marks. Group one of these registration marks with each hoop basting and design that fits within it. Once split into 3 designs, create 3 separate embroidery files, one for each of the hoops and their contents. As final preparation, in the separate design files, make the registration mark the first object of the design to use for alignment. Since the hoop basting stitches are not stitched but used in the design for alignment, move it as the last object to be stitched. Before we move on to stitching the project, I'd like to answer 2 likely questions. The first is, why are we using hoop basting stitches? And actually, they are not entirely necessary, but because digitizing software and your embroidery machine like to automatically center designs, even if you don't, the hoop basting stitches add a layer of protection to keep your design from shifting position. I found hoop basting stitches to be absolutely essential when stitching large lettering along a quilt border. The second question is, what if my design is such that the hoops I am using don't all overlap in the same place? This project used 1 mark per hoop to keep the illustration simple. You may use several registration marks instead of just 1 per hoop. The lesson to remember with the registration mark technique is that you are making a mark for aligning the next hoop that will be stitched. Moving on to the hoop, prepare the Hoop It All hoop by adhering the stabilizer as described in the Hoop It All instructions. Press the fabric or item to be embroidered onto the stabilizer. Mark the center of the first design to be stitched. Remember, you are marking the center of the design, not the placement for the first registration mark. The way I align this project, I mark the center of the hoop and then align that mark with the center of the Hoop It All bracket at the embroidery machine. Then I centered my first design in the hoop, making a slight position adjustment of the width with my machine. Place the hoop it all hoop in the embroidery machine and align the hoop lengthwise with the center of design marking. Use the machine needle to help with aligning length and width. Stitch the registration mark, which should be the first stitch of the design. I used silk thread so it would come out of the fabric easily. It is critical that you will be able to locate this mark when adjusting the hoop to stitch the next hoopings. As illustrated in the video, a registration mark and the first design have been stitched. To adjust for the second design, loosen the screws on the bracket and shift the hoop so that the needle is aligned with the registration mark from the first design. Tighten the bracket screws. Then make any necessary width adjustments within the embroidery machine until the needle aligns with the registration mark. Stitch the second design. Repeat the process of making lengthwise adjustments to the hoop it all hoop and width adjustments with your embroidery machine for any additional hoops. You will achieve the best results when using your hoop it all hoop when you start with a little bit of measuring and planning. Using digitizing software makes the process easier as we can use it to measure and create helpful templates. Get to know the tools available in your software and you will probably find additional ways to align and split designs for the hoop it all hoop. We will use a variety of digitizing techniques in these lessons. Please contact us for questions, suggestions, or project ideas. We will use your input to create future lessons and projects. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. I have been a home sewer for over 40 years and in 2003 established my machine embroidery business, American Stitchworks. I enjoy teaching sewing, machine embroidery, and computer digitizing techniques and love creating new projects using the hoop it all hoops in many different ways. I hope these tutorials enhance your embroidery projects also.